The first key: take charge. The principle of choice. Happiness begins with a choice. If you want to be the best you can be, the kind of person who has lasting happiness and fulfillment in their life, you need to choose to be that person. Being happy doesn't have to be complicated. The minute you make the decision to be happy, you instantly become happier. Your perspective shifts and you start to see your world from the vantage point of someone who is happy. Of course, choosing to be happy isn't the only thing that you need to do, but unless you make the conscious decision to be happy, your other efforts could be wasted. Being happy isn't something that you become one day or something that you get when you cross off enough things on your life's to-do list. You don't decide, being the best I can be, I think I'll give that a try next Tuesday. True happiness is a way of life. Happiness is a choice. Choose to be happy, and you will be. Think about the person you are right now. Are you someone who is happy, who takes life's ups and downs in your stride and brings a sunny, positive attitude to all that you do? Do you fundamentally believe that your life will be a good one and trust that good things will continue to happen for you? Do you expect the best from yourself? Stand up for what you believe in and maintain confidence in your right to the best life you can possibly live? Or have you chosen to be a different person altogether, personalizing your negative experiences and seeing them as things that are happening to you rather than accepting that sometimes these things just happen? Being the best you can be is not the same as trying to be perfect. The quest for perfection is a lost cause. It is entirely subjective and completely unachievable. So stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to have the perfect body, the perfect hair, or the perfect home. Stop trying to be the perfect partner, perfect friend, perfect parent, perfect homemaker, or perfect provider. Say no to trying to be the perfect boss. Deliver the perfect report or being the perfect employee. And stop trying to perfect all of these things all at once. If nothing you do is ever good enough, you will exist in a constant state of dissatisfaction, frustration, and disappointment with yourself. Not a great idea if your aim is to be happy. Releasing yourself from the burden of perfectionism is one of the most liberating things you can do, but it doesn't mean slacking off, accepting average, or becoming complacent in your life. It is about establishing what your best is and committing to that. We can't all be amazing at everything. No matter how multi-talented you are, there are simply not enough hours in the day to find the time to excel at everything. Choose your starring moments wisely and accept that at other things you may be just a little more ordinary. I know I am a brilliant parent, loving partner, and loyal friend, and I accept that my best is a lot more average when it comes to my personal administration, preparing midweek meals, and sticking to my fitness routine. Perfectionism is a lost cause. Focus your energy on being the best you can be. Happiness is a state of being, not a state of having. It isn't something you get when you tick off items on a list. A new job, a new car, a new house, or new shoes. While all of these things and many others may give you pleasure in the moment, they don't have an impact on your ability to sustain long-term happiness in your life. True happiness is a state of being, not one of doing or having. When you focus on being the best you can be, you will experience a sense of calm in your life. There will still be days that are big hitters, but more often than not, you will enjoy a quiet sense of comfort, knowing that you gave your best and your best was good enough. Even on the days that aren't so great, as long as you gave your best in that moment, at that time, and under those circumstances, you will still be content. Part of being truly happy is living the life you want to live. This isn't something that just happens by accident. At least that is not the case for most people. Think about what your ideal life looks like, what you do, where you live, how you spend your time, and who you spend it with. Rather than viewing these things as simply the circumstances of your life, things that just happen, consider the design of your life as a critical contributor to the happiness in your life. Not because you have all that you want, but because you will be actively creating the life that you want. Even if you don't feel confident that you know what you want, don't allow that to become your excuse for being complacent about your life. It's true many people don't feel clear about what they want from life, but most people are pretty sure about what they don't want. If you don't know what you want, use your knowledge of what you don't want as your starting point. Don't want to work in an office? Great. Start exploring opportunities that would allow you to work outside the office. Don't want to live in the city? Start exploring a sea or tree change. Not happy about the job that you have? Start thinking about other things that you might like to do. Oprah Winfrey said if you want your life to be more rewarding, you need to change the way you think. If you're not experiencing all the happiness you deserve, think carefully about what changes you need to make and how you could be redesigning your life so it becomes one you feel much better about living. This concept of life design can feel a little overwhelming at first, but don't pressure yourself into trying to create a perfect life in an instant. Start by looking at some quick wins or simple changes you could make. If you don't feel like you see your friends or family enough, invite them over. If you feel like you're stuck in a dead end job, update your CV. Or if you feel like your life would be more meaningful with a partner, join a dating site or service. The most important thing you can do is to consciously make choices that take you closer to the life you really want. You only have one life. Make sure that yours is one you are happy to be living. The good thing about starting small is that it builds your confidence and gets you used to the feeling of being in charge. William was feeling really down. He was in a job he didn't particularly like, spending time with people he didn't particularly care for, and drinking far more than he should. He was starting to worry that he was on a fast train to nowhere and his wife was fed up with him, moaning about his life. William couldn't remember the last time he felt really content, but he had a funny feeling he hadn't felt that way since he left university. Of course, there were elements of his life that he was very happy with, like his marriage, but his overall feeling was one of discontent. I wanted to examine the choices William had made since leaving university, but the problem was he hadn't really been making choices. Rather than being a proactive participant, William had been letting his life happen to him. He had accepted a job doing something he was good at, but he had never stopped to ask himself if this was what he wanted to do. He was still hanging out with his high school friends without ever having asked himself if these were people who shared his values, goals, or ideals. He was trying to inject some fun into his life by going out all the time, but all that was doing was giving him a different type of headache than the one he already had. Feeling strong and empowered is a fundamental contributor to long term sustained happiness. But it is hard to feel that way if you don't take responsibility for your life and consciously make choices that support you in living the life you really want. Although William realized he couldn't turn his life around in an instant, he now knew exactly what kind of life he wanted to create, and he knew it was up to him to create it. He felt fully empowered and infinitely happier in his life. One of the best things you can do if you want to create lasting happiness in your life is to get really clear about your values. So often life can look good on paper, but if the life you're living is not in alignment with your values, you may find yourself feeling hollow and unfulfilled. Put simply, your values are the aspects of your life that are of most importance to you. Although just a series of words, your values provide a powerful insight into who you are and what matters most to you in life. Having a clear understanding of your values makes it easier to set goals and create a fulfilling future. When you're faced with a decision, consider your values and look at the compromises each option requires. Consciously make choices that lead you towards a life that is fully aligned with all of your values all of the time. Focus on what matters. Honor your values and make decisions that are aligned with them. If you want to be truly happy in life, you need to ensure that the choices you make directly support your values. If they don't, you can be left feeling annoyed, angry, or lost, no matter how good things might look from the outside. Every choice or decision you make will have consequences. So often I speak with people who are feeling frustrated, dissatisfied, and unhappy in their lives. But when I listen to them, I can hear quite clearly that they are ignoring, rebelling against, or resenting the consequences of the choices they have made. Perhaps you have chosen to move to a larger house, but now feel frustrated because your social life is constrained by your mortgage payments. Maybe you have decided to work part time while your children are young, only to find that you feel resentful, that your career is not as dynamic or progressing as rapidly as it once was. It's important to recognize that every single decision has consequences and there is no point expending your energy raging against them. They are what they are. You don't have to like it, but you need to learn to accept the impact your choices will have on your whole life, not just a specific thing they relate to. If you're not willing to accept the effect your choice has, then you need to re examine your options and see if there are other alternatives you feel more comfortable with. When you make a choice, acknowledge all the consequences. That way you won't be left feeling compromised. If you find that you don't want to choose a different option, then you need to accept your circumstances and find a way to say, my life might not be perfect, but it is the best it can be right now, and I am okay with that. Remember that most stages of life won't last forever, and if you're feeling constrained in a certain aspect of your life, you're likely to be liberated from this at some point down the track. Your children may leave home, giving you lots of spare time and energy. The boss that you really can't stand will eventually move on, and your mortgage will be paid off. Housing prices will rise, and you will find yourself significantly wealthier than you are right now. Angela was faced with a career dilemma. She had chosen to accept a role in a dynamic technology startup. She wanted to learn as much as she could because she knew it would really expand her options for the future. Unfortunately for Angela, one of the downsides of this fast paced organization was that several people she worked with had been promoted more rapidly than they might have been in more traditional environments. Her boss was a classic case of having been promoted to his level of incompetence. Angela felt frustrated and trapped working in an environment where she found it difficult to have professional respect for the person she worked for, as well as several of the people she worked with. Angela and I began to explore her choices and their potential consequences. She knew she had several options. She could resign at any point and go back to her old corporate life, look for a job in another startup company, or stay where she was and accept that the consequences of these choices would include both excellent career development and a frustrating manager and colleagues. Angela could see that with 12 months experience in this job, a lot of new doors would open up for her. She decided to stay where she was for the duration and to accept that it was unlikely that she would be impressed or inspired by her boss during this time. By consciously accepting the consequences of her decision, she was able to dramatically reduce the level of stress and frustration that she had been feeling and return to feeling strong and empowered in her life. There's no such thing as I have no choice. Unless you're being held at gunpoint, there is always another choice you could be making. Circumstances may sometimes make it difficult for you to see all of your available options. You might be tired and exhausted by the demands of small children, experiencing significant financial stress, or reeling from the shock discovery of a betrayal. Whatever your circumstances, there will always be other options. You just need to choose to look for them. There is no such thing as no choice. There are always other options. Explore yours. It may take time, energy, or courage. Sometimes, this may mean having to make the tough choice. Other times, the simple fact that you recognize you have options can be enough to make you feel more comfortable with the choice you have already made. Even if you don't feel directly responsible for the situation you find yourself in, you're responsible for how you manage this situation and, more importantly, how you turn it around. Sometimes it can feel easier to stay where you are in life, to blame a lack of choice rather than to challenge the status quo and explore other alternatives. Many people feel secretly comfortable stuck at a dead end, and stepping outside of your comfort zone can be quite overwhelming. If you find yourself feeling this way, remind yourself that it's your life. You don't have to change it if you don't want to. But if you do decide to leave things as they are, then you must choose to accept your current situation. If you can say, I've explored the other options and I'm going to accept this situation, your sense of contentment will increase. When you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you don't have any choice, remind yourself that there is always another path you could be taking. It might not be the one you want to take, and you might choose not to take it. But there are always other options worth exploring. The lateral thinking guru Edward de Bono tells us to begin with the most unlikely option and work from there. So often, the exploration of the improbable leads to the discovery of exactly the right choice you need to make. In every life, there will be good days and bad days, successes and failures, happy events, sad ones, triumphs, and very occasionally, tragedy. That's just the way it is. Unless you want to live like a hermit, there is no avoiding the experience of life. But when you understand how to sustain your happiness will be lasting and impervious to the ups and downs of your life. While life's experiences can inspire great happiness or sadness in the moment, true happiness is not defined by what is going on today, this week, or even this year. Real happiness is a state of being that comes from deep within. Realizing that you get to choose how you experience these events can be a life-changing discovery. Most people have a similar range of experiences over a lifetime, but it is how they choose to process these experiences that determines the level of happiness in their life. I'm always inspired when I hear of people who have suffered extreme illness, loss, or tragedy, only to rise above it in their determination to continue to live a full and meaningful life. I think it's such a dreadful waste when people choose to wallow in their misery, adopt a victim persona, and act like they are the only ones ever to feel let down by life. Don't be the victim of your life. Self pity will never lead to happiness. A full and interesting life will have its share of negative events and experiences. Do your very best to take these events and experiences in your stride. You don't have to deny your feelings or smother your emotions, but you don't have to let them consume you either. Self pity never leads to happiness. Remind yourself that a situation may not be ideal, but it's rarely the worst that could ever happen. Consciously or subconsciously, people don't always make the best choices for their long term happiness. Look at the choices you're making in your life, and if they are not genuinely working for you, ask yourself, what is the choice I am really making here? If you are in a relationship where you are not fully respected, ask yourself, what choice am I really making? By continuing to be involved in this relationship, you might tell yourself that you are choosing to be modern and liberated or are blinded by love, but the choice you're really making might be to perpetuate your low self esteem by reinforcing the message that you don't really deserve someone's love. If you find that you drink an unhealthy amount, you might tell yourself that you're choosing to relax and unwind with a few drinks after work, and you just got caught up in the moment. But maybe the real choice you have made is to deny your alcoholic tendencies or to shorten your life expectancy. Don't sabotage your chance for happiness. Own up to the real choices you are making. You might choose to stay in a job you hate, spend all the money you earn and then some, and tell yourself that you deserve to cheer yourself up. But the real choice you've made could be that you are trapping yourself in your job by getting yourself into debt and needing your income to repay that debt. Examine every aspect of your life and ask yourself, what am I really choosing here? And can I really expect that choice to bring me lasting happiness? You might be surprised what you uncover. You don't have to choose to be happy. You can continue with your life just the way it is. But why not give it a try? A simple shift in perspective from making this choice can have the most profound impact on your life. One of my favorite thoughts about happiness comes from the original domestic goddess, Nigella Lawson. Although Nigella lost her first husband, sister, and mother to cancer, she was frustrated with interviewers expecting her to be miserable. Some see me as a tragic heroine. The idea I might be happy is unforgivable. Well, I'm sorry, it's better to be happy. And the simple truth is that it is. Choose to be happy. It's the only sensible option. The first key is all about making strong, positive choices in life. Anytime you find yourself blaming someone else for a situation or circumstance in your life, ask yourself, what choice am I making? How am I a co-contributor here? Apply the principle of choice. Examine your decisions, and if they are not working for you, take charge of your life and make new ones.